Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Very good. Okay, let's see if we get to the Bhagavatam, because today is the appearance day of Virachandra. So a very important day. Okay, let me just check one thing. What's that? Oh, really? Okay, we should mention that. Okay, we're online. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Malaba Giribara Dhauti Gopijana Malaba Giribara Dhauti Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Yamuna Tira Panachauti Yamuna Tira Manachauti Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Malaba Girivara Dhauti Gopijana Malaba Girivara Dhauti Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Yasodanandana Braja Jananandana Jamuna Tira Panachadi Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Arunad Madhuva Kunja Bikhahuti the Madhuva Kunja Bikhahuti Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya Osateta Setashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasani Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagadada Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shmati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamati Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatate Jitarni. So, as was mentioned a little bit before class, today is the glorious appearance day of Virachandra Virabhadra, and also it's the appearance day of B.R. Sridhar Swami. So, first we'll talk about B.R. Sridhar Swami, and Prabhupada would refer to Ms. Sridhar Maharaj, and he is a very dear associate of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and actually one of Srila Prabhupada's closest friends, and he helped the movement tremendously after Srila Prabhupada left this world. And actually I visited him several times and in Navadvip, and anyway, just I could see his great love for Srila Prabhupada. So today is his appearance day. And let's talk a little bit about Virabhadra. Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmiditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm going to read from the Adi Leela about Virabhadra. So he's a very, very important personality. That's why we're taking the time to speak about him this morning. So we're reading from the Adi Leela, chapter 11, text 8, if anyone wants to. Adi Leela, 11:8. Shri Virabhadra Goshani Skanda Mahashaka Tanra Huba Shakat Yata Asankyatara Leka. So, translation, after Nityananda Prabhu, the greatest branch is Virabhadra Goswami, who also has innumerable branches and sub-branches. It is not possible to describe them all. And in Srila Prabhupada's purport, it's explained that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasha, that's his commentary, Virabhadra Goswami was the direct son of Nityananda Prabhu and a disciple of Janava Devi. His real mother was Vasudha. In other words, Lord Nityananda had two wives, Vasudha and Janava, and Vasudha actually had children. In the Gaura Ganadesh Tipika, he is mentioned as an incarnation of Shirodaksha Vishnu. Of course, we know Shirodaksha Vishnu is one of the three Purusha avatars. Purusha avatars means you have, dealing with the material world, you have Mahavishnu, who from him emanates all the universes in the expanded seed form, and then you have the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who manifests in each and every universe in the Garbhodak ocean, and then the Shirodaksha Vishnu. And Shirodaksha Vishnu is present in everyone's heart. So, Virabhadra Goswami is non-different from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his little history about him. In the village of the name Jamatapura in the district of Hooghly, Virabhadra Goswami had a disciple named Yadunathacharya who had two daughters, a real daughter named Srimati and a foster daughter named Narayani. Virabhadra Goswami married both these daughters. Now one may question why Prabhupada gives so much of this geographical, historical information in his purports. And this really, when I read it, it actually cemented my faith in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. This is actually historical details where you can actually trace out where these great personalities appeared or had these pastimes, and you can even visit these places. So, it really brings everything down into concrete, for our concrete brains, into concrete reality. I hate to use the word reality. Of course, there's a spiritual reality, but when we can connect spiritual things, just like when we go to Braj, we can connect different pastimes with the place in which those pastimes took place, isn't it? So it really helps. And just like I visited many different places in India, one place is supposed to be the appearance place of Hanuman, and it just really connects you with those great personalities. And of course, the main thing about going to the holy places, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is what? To hear from the holy people, not simply to go to the holy place. So, anyway, Virabhadra Goswami married these daughters, and they're mentioned in the Bhakti Ratnakara. Virabhadra Goswami had three disciples. This is very important information given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because these three disciples, their names are Gopijana Ballabha, Ramakrishna, and Ramchandra, are by some people they considered to be the sons of of Virabhadra, but actually, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the historical record, they are disciples, not sons. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is that there's these devotees who claim to be the seminal descendants, isn't it, of Nityananda, and they claim some special prerogative in the worship of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And Srila Bhakti, Nityananda Gosai, whatever it's called, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spent a lot of time dealing with these different misunderstandings that people who are descendants of Lord Nityananda, and actually there are no descendants of Lord Nityananda after Virabhadra Goswami, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he gives, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the reasoning why he doesn't consider them to be the actual seminal descendants here in this purport. Because one of them, Ramchandra, belonged to what's called the Sandilya dynasty and had a surname, Vatavalya, and the eldest disciple, Gopijana Ballabha, was a resident of the village known Lata. He had a different surname. The second, Radha Ramakrishna, lived near Maladaha. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur notes that since these three disciples belonged to different gotras or dynasties and also had different surnames and lived in different places, it is not possible to accept them as real sons of Virabhadra Goswami. Of course, they're real in the sense of being disciples. I mean, that's real. Of course, I consider myself to be a real son of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. However, not a seminal son. And here I don't think we need to go through all this, but the descendants of these different personalities, the three disciples of Virabhadra, are given here, and this is a genealogical table given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So there's more text here. Text 8. Ishwarahaya kahaya maha bhagavata Veda dharmatita harna Veda dharme rata. Although Virabhadra Goswami was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He presented himself as a great devotee, and although the Supreme Godhead is transcendental to all Vedic injunctions, he strictly followed the Vedic rituals. Text 10. Antareshvara chishta bahire anirgamba chaitanya bhakti mandape tenho mula stamba. He is the main pillar in the hall of devotional service erected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knew within himself that he acted as the Supreme Lord Vishnu, but externally he was prideless. And then text 11, a few more texts. Adyapi anhara kripa mahima haite Chaitanya Nichananda Gaya Sakale Jagate. It is by the glorious mercy of Sri Virabhaja Goswami that people all over the world, okay, went offline, hold on a second. I can put myself online on my phone now. That'll be better. Sometimes that happens. What's that? No, the iPad won't work. Let me see. My Zoom went off on that thing, so I just... What? It's still on? Yeah, Zoom's working according to the... Oh, okay. Maybe it's just the phone went off. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Because then I would put myself on the phone. Okay. So, by the mercy of Sri Virabhadra Goswami, people all over the world now have the chance to chant the names of Chaitanya and Nityananda. And then text 12, Sri Virabhadra Goswanira Layinu Shanana Yanhara Prasadehaya Abhishta Purna. I therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of Virabhadra Goswami, so that by his mercy, my great desire to write Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be successful. So let's see, just one more piece of information, and then we'll go on to the Bhagavatam. This described that the old Shamashundara temple in Kardaha has a manuscript of Srimad Bhagavatam that is hand copied by Virabhadra Prabhu. Some people say this Bhagavatam was written by Nityananda. There's a story. Virabhadra Prabhu personally brought a piece of stone from which the deities Shamashundara, Radhaballabha, and Nandulal became manifest. These deities are still being worshipped in Kardaha. The ghat where the stone arrived or was found is known as the Shamashundara Ghat. Virabhadra Prabhu established the custom of celebrating the birth of Lord Nityananda at Kardaha. So he established this custom. During his time, the offerings during the festival were prepared using 60 kgs of rice and equal amounts of other materials. The current managers of the Kardaha temple have many other legends about the life of Virabhadra Goswami. So, all glories to Virabhadra Goswami. And now we'll go on to the Bhagavatam. We have a few more minutes. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah?
Is Virabhadra the disciple of Janava?
Virabhadra is the disciple of Janava. Yes. Thank you for that information. Okay, so we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:39-40. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Akruras. Oh, it's 41. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. 41. Nimajya Tasmin Salile Japan Brahma Sanatanam Tav Eva Dadrishe Kruro Rama Krishna Samanvitao Nimajja Tasmin Salile Japan Brahma Sanatanam Taveva Dadrashe Kruro Rama Krishna Samanvitao Nimajja Tasmin Salile Japan Brahma Sanatanam Tadveva Dadrashe Kruro Ramakrishna Samanvitao Nimajjao Tasmin Salile Japan Brahma Sanatanam Taveva Dadrashe Kruro Ramakrishna Samanvitao. Okay. Nimajja, immersing himself. Tasmin, in that. Salile, water. Japan, reciting. Brahma, Vedic mantras. Sanatanam, eternal. Tao, them. Eva, indeed. Dadrashe, saw. Akruraha, Akrura. Krishna, Balaram and Krishna. Samanvitao, together. Translation, while immersing himself in the water and reciting eternal mantras from the Vedas, Akrura suddenly saw Balaram and Krishna before him. You can repeat. While immersing himself in the water and reciting eternal mantras from the Vedas, Akrura suddenly saw Balaram and Krishna before him. So there's no purport by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. So we're going to read Vishwanath, very short purports by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. In Braja, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in Braja, Akrura saw a form more astonishing than the one that he meditated on with his mantra. He became fixed on that form. However, as he gave up that source of the gopis' sweet words and became fixed on the ancient Vedic mantra, Krishna therefore showed him Vaikuntha. It's interesting. And Jiva Goswami states, he chanted eternal Vedic mantras because of his strong bhakti. He saw the two together as before. Sanatana Goswami comments, immersing himself in the water, he came out, he recited the eternal Aga Marshana mantra. And I tried to find out what that was. Maybe Mother Irmala knows. I don't, according to some. It was necessary to chant this mantra, or he chanted the Gayatri, since it is the original mantra, the mother of the Vedas. Or he chanted mantras which were eternal because they were equal to the Vedas, who was eternal, having arisen from him. Vedo Narayana Sakshat Swayambhur Iti Shushama. The Vedas are directly Narayan and are born from him. This we have heard from Yamaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.140. and we're going to read that in a second. Or he chanted the name of Bhagavan, who is eternal Brahman. The two, whom he took permission from, and who were seated on the chariot, were present there, together with him, samanvitau, or mixed together like a mirror and reflected object in the water. Nimaja tasmin salile, japan brahma sanatanam, taveva dadvashe kruro, Ramakrishna samanvitau. So, Om Gana Timidandasha, Gananjana Shalakaya, Chachurun Meditam Yena, Tasmai Shigarave Namaha. So here's Prabhupada's recitation of this in the Krishna book. Akrura then took their permission to also take a bath in the Yamuna. According to the Vedic ritual, after taking a bath in the river, one should stand at least half submerged and murmur the Gayatri mantra. While he was standing in the river, Akrura suddenly saw Balaram and Krishna within the water. He was surprised to see them there because he was confident that they were sitting on the chariot. And so the reference was made to the Yamadutas speaking about the Vedic mantras or the Vedic instructions, 6.140. Yes, I wanted to read that. It's Veda pranihito dharmo yadharmas tad viparya Vedo Narayana Sakshat Swayambhur Iti Shushrama. The Yamadutas replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principles, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. Of course, we do know that the Yamadutas did actually make a mistake in trying to arrest Ajamil. That's because, as Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Trigunya Vishya Veda, Nishtraya Gunya Bhavarajana, Nirdamdvo Nirsatpashto, Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. That the Vedas are a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but most of the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature. And the reason, maybe someone could make sure that the kitchen door is closed. Not that door, but the door from the kitchen to the stairway, because then the fan goes on. It's actually disturbing to me. So there's a reason. That's good. See? Worked. So there's a reason that the Vedas mainly deal with the three modes of nature, is because most of the people in this material world are immersed in the three modes of material nature. And the Vedas are there to bring people up gradually, and there's information about all sorts of subject matters. There's not even mundane subject matters in the Vedas. There's Ayurveda, which deals with medicine. There's the Vedic literatures, which deal with astrology. So many different types of Vedic literatures. So you can quote from one particular Vedic literature as the Yamadutas did, and not really understand what the purpose of the Vedas. Krishna, of course, states in the Gita, Vedaischar saver ahameva vedyo. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So one actually has to know the purpose of the Vedas to understand the Vedas, which the Yamadutas didn't know at that particular time. So they arrested Jamil, or attempted to arrest Jamil, in spite of him chanting what? The holy name of Narayan, Narayan. So it is stated in this particular verse and purports by the acharyas that that Akrura was chanting different Vedic mantras and also the Gayatri. And I wanted to speak a little bit about the Gayatri today. What is the Gayatri? The word Gayatri means, of course, that which is sung. So we're going to make references to some reference to different quotes from Srila Prabhupada, and actually a quote from the Brahma Samhita. In the Brahma Samhita, the verses 5, chapter 5, 27 to 29, there's this beautiful verse. Atavenu nindasya traye murti maye gati spuranti praviveshasho mukhav chani swayambhuvu Gayatrim gayatastasmat adigacha sarojaja samskritas chari guruna dvijatam agamatataha Traya prabhudautta vidhir vigata tattvasagara tushtava veda sarena stotrena nena keshavam. So this is that about the origin of the Gayatri Mantra, to help you appreciate the Gayatri. And it's interesting that even though Prabhupada insisted that only initiated devotees should have this, the Gayatri sheet that he gave out. This is distributed only to initiated devotees. If you look at read Prabhupada's books, you'll find the Gayatri mantras are actually interspersed in different places in his books. Now, of course, as I mentioned the other day, one has to be authorized to chant a specific mantra. Without that authorization, or from the disciplic succession, sampradaya vinaya mantras te nishpala mataha, it won't be effective. So it's not that one could just pick up Prabhupada's books or pick up the Gayatri mantra from the sheet and then start reciting it. So the translation to this particular verse from the Brahma Samhita is, then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, so the Gayatri is the mother of the Vedas, having been manifested by the divine sound of Krishna's flute, entered the lotus mouth of Brahma. So Brahma here is sitting on the lotus flower, which comes from the stem, which comes from the navel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So Brahma is called the self-born. Actually, his father was Vishnu. Through his 8 ear holes. And of course, it's described by Lord Kapiladev. Satam prasangan mama virya samvado bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata tajoshana dashu apavarga vartmane shruda vatira bhakti nukrameshati. Then one makes spiritual advancement primarily by hearing, because as the Acharyas describe and Srila Prabhupada describes, there is a channel between the ear and the heart. Now, this is, of course, not a gross channel, but it's a subtle channel. So when we hear something, even when we hear some mundane sound, it actually affects our consciousness very, very quickly, more than practically anything else, more than sight and touch, smell, and stuff like that. We hear about some sense gratificatory thing, or we hear something that is immersed in different modes of nature, and our consciousness becomes covered. So, Bhavanti Rit Karna. Rit means heart, Karna means ear. So Lord Brahma heard through his 8 ear holes. Thus the lotus-born Brahma received the Gayatri Mantra, which had sprung from the song of Krishna's flute. So those who were initiated in the Gayatri Mantra can actually think like that when they chant the Gayatri mantras. There's actually many mantras. In this way, he attained twice-born status, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, which embodies the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. So he was enlightened, just to unpack this, by remembering. Recollection means to remember the Gayatri. Then he became acquainted with the whole ocean, the expanse of the ocean of truth. That's a beautiful verse in the Brahma Samhita. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna with the essence of all the Vedic hymns, Vedas with a hymn. So let's read more about the Gayatri. So this is from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada here directly quotes some of the Gayatri mantras in the teachings. It's interesting because the teachings of Lord Chaitanya came out way before the Chaitanya Charitamrita was actually one of the first books that was published.
Yeah, one of the first books.
Yeah.
1968.
Yeah, I remember when I joined the movement, there was a whole stack of these books for distribution. We didn't know what to do with them. What are we going to do? All these books. You thought, distribution means what? Magazines. Back to Godhead. So, and that was actually the first book that came out. I remember that book. So this is from the TLC, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And the TLC has information even that the Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't have, even though the TLC is supposed to be the summary study of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Krishna is worshipped by the Gayatri mantra, and the specific mantra by which he is worshipped is called Kama Gayatri. The Vedic literature explains that sound vibration, which can elevate one from mental concoction, interesting, isn't it? Different descriptions of the Gayatri, is called Gayatri. The Kama Gayatri mantra is composed of 24 and a half syllables. Actually, it was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had a dream to actually understand what that half syllable was. And Prabhupada here gives the Kama Gayatri, which I'm not going to give because I don't want to initiate everybody. This Kama Gayatri, which I described before, is received from the spiritual master when the disciple is advanced in chanting what? Hare Krishna, probably gives the whole Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In other words, this Kama Gayatri and samskara, or reformation of a perfect Brahman. Samskara, Prabhupada sometimes would translate as reformation, actually means impression. One makes an impression, just like we have these different samskaras. Beginning with the Garbhadan Sanskara, of course, even before the Garbhadan Sanskara, there's Vivaha, hopefully. And these actually help one focus one's mind and create impressions on the subtle body. I mean, that's really the purpose of these samskaras, because when you remember something, when you perform some ceremony, and you're actually conscious, not just as a ritual, then it actually creates an impression on the subtle body. And the whole point is what Savaimana, Krishna put out of India, to fix the mind on Krishna, so that mind, intelligence, and ego. So reformation of a perfect Brahman are offered by the spiritual master when he sees the disciples advance in spiritual knowledge. Even then, the Kama Gayatri is not uttered under certain circumstances. In any case, the chanting of Hare Krishna is sufficient to elevate one to the highest spiritual platform. So the Gayatri mantras are actually uttered at certain times. It's not like the Hare Krishna mantra. Every morning we're chanting, what? Niyamena Tishtan. There's no hard and fast rules for chanting. Of course, we understand there are rules in terms of the 10 offenses one should avoid, following the order of the spiritual master, etc., like that. But there's no time, place, and circumstance rules. If you're anywhere, just like I was in a hospital recently, I was chanting Hare Krishna. So Gayatri, technically, it has to be at certain times of the day. And sometimes the devotees ask when they're taking the Gayatri mantras, what can I do can I chant all 3 at night? Prabhupada was asked that question. And Prabhupada said, no. You chant, but Prabhupada wasn't, it's interesting, Prabhupada wasn't that specific about the sanjhas. He said morning, this is Prabhupada's instructions were morning, noon, and evening. And the interesting thing is if you get really specific about the sanjhas, you're going to be in trouble in Finland during the winter or during the summer. During the summer, I don't know what you're doing. During the winter, I don't know what you do. You never get to the Gayatri, basically.
What do you do on an airplane?
What do I do? I figure out where the airplane is and what time of the day it is.
Suppose you keep going to noon and noon and noon and noon.
haven't had that problem. It's just, I just figure once, you can get one noon if the day gets longer. The chant, so here's some more description about the Gayatri Mantra and connection with Krishna's flute. This is also later on in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Such interesting information. The Brahma Samhita, a nice description is given of the sound of Krishna's flute. When Krishna began to play on his flute, the sound vibration entered into the ear of Brahma as the Vedic mantra. Here Prabhupada says Om, because Om is the actual, is one of the Gayatri mantras. This Om is composed of 3 letters, A, U, and M, and it describes our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities by which we can achieve the highest perfection of love, and the actual position of love on the spiritual platform, sometimes described as Radha and Krishna and living entity or devotional service. When the sound vibration of Krishna's flute is expressed through the mouth of Brahma, it becomes Gayatri. Thus, by being influenced by the sound vibration of Krishna's flute, Brahma, the supreme creature and first living entity of this mature world, was initiated as a Brahman. That Brahma was initiated as a Brahman by the flute of Krishna is confirmed by Srila Jiva Goswami. When Brahma was enlightened by the Gayatri Mantra through Krishna's flute, he attained all Vedic knowledge. We spoke about this. Acknowledging the benediction offered to him by Krishna, he became the original spiritual master of all living entities. The word klim, added to the Gayatri Mantra, is explained in the Brahma Samhita as the transcendental seed of love of Godhead, or the seed of the Kama Gayatri. Some information about the Gayatri Mantra. Of course, Akrura was chanting other mantras too. And he was chanting some of the other Vedic mantras, and due to that, according to this particular verse and purport, his consciousness became transformed, and he had, in such a way that he had more of Vaikuntha consciousness. And of course, the ghat, or the lake in which is Brahmavrata, in which Akrura was bathing at this particular time, is in one sense considered the junction between Vrindavan and Mathura. So in Mathura, and we spoke about this in a previous class, in Mathura, Krishna manifests himself as Vasudeva Krishna, and in Vrindavan, Krishna manifests himself as Nanda Nandana. So he's going through a transition, which is mentioned in the, let's go back to the, here, in the commentary. It said, however, as he gave up that source, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, of the Gopi sweet words, became fixed on the ancient Vedic mantra, or mantras, Krishna therefore showed him Vaikuntha. So there's a transition going on at this particular junction. And there's also a transition in Krishna manifesting himself as Vasudeva Krishna. So any questions or comments? Yes?
So Nityananda had a daughter, Ganga, and
She's considered an incarnation of Ganga Devi. She married
she married
an incarnation of Shantanu, yeah.
Did they have children?
I don't know.
And did Virabhadra, he married 2 sisters?
Yeah. One was, they're not actually real sisters.
Okay.
One was adopted, yeah.
Okay, so he had 2 wives, and then Ganga is married. So were there any children from any of them?
There's not mention of any children from Ganga Devi.
It seems like it's possible that there could be a biography.
There could be, but it's not mentioned in the biographies.
So those 3 people are definitely not.
Those 3 people, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's very clear about that, and Prabhupada quotes his clear statement.
I'm wondering if there is a seminal line also. Could be, right?
There could be. Could be, but it's not.
So certainly those who claim to be it are going to push that,
Yeah.
which I think Bhaktisiddhanta doesn't want to happen.
Yeah, but they trace their seminal line, not from anyone else, but those 3 personalities.
So they're not looking at Ganga's children.
No, as far as I know, I mean,
Virabhadra has.
that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur dealt with those 3 personalities. He doesn't specifically say that there were no children. he specifically deals with these three, and he says because they have different surnames and they resided in different places, it's understood they had different gotras. So they weren't actually descendants of Virabhadra.
I'm also wondering, Bhaktivinoda traces his Diksha line to...
Janavamata.
And is Virabhadra in that line, or is it from the...
Oh, actually Janavamata initiated a lot of people. A lot of people.
Where Bhaktivinoda, do you know? Like, I don't remember.
I don't remember that particular line, but she initiated a lot of people. Actually, Virabhadra was with, which I didn't mention, with Janavamata when they came to the festival in Keturi. And Virabhadra was actually very close with Narottama Das Thakur. Virabhadra went to Vrindavan, and he did the whole tour of all the forests of Vrindavan, and associated with the Goswamis who were still there at that time, like Srila Jiva Goswami and others. So, any other questions? We got about...
Another question, but I don't know if you have time.
Well, quick.
You were referring to Ajamila.
Yeah.
And somebody made an argument to me yesterday that if someone's chanting Hare Krishna, that means they don't have to do any kind of penance for any sins they committed even as a devotee.
Well, I mean, they don't have to do the Vedic types of penance, like, what is that story? One of the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually, Subhuti Roy got touched by this Muslim Nawab, and converted into Muslim, and he asked everybody, what should I do? And they say, well, you drink molten lead or metal or something. Hot ghee. No, first they said molten metal, and then they said hot ghee. And then Lord Chaitanya said, just chant Hare Krishna. So, what is it? Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu Jangan Mangalangnasam Mahatama. You know that verse? Mahatama Pikoriga Vijikantaka Nishkritam. What is that verse? That's spoken by Shukadev Goswami after this whole description, and he's testing Maharaj Parikshit. He says, Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu. The Sankirtan of Lord Vishnu, Jangan Mangalangnasam, is actually the most auspicious thing for the universe. Mahatama Pikaravya, there's two ways to translate it. Is the great souls recommend that. Vijikantaka Nishkritam is the best method of atonement. So that's one of the key verses in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? On that happy note,
Everything's about the holy name.
yes, everything's about the holy name.
Everything's about the holy name, period.
Yeah, we don't need to do any atonement, but we need to stop our sinful activities. Like what did Jesus Christ say?
So if someone stopped their sinful activities and now they're chanting...
Yes, that's enough.
They don't have to do anything.
No. As far as I know, that's our philosophy. But what did Jesus Christ say to the prostitute? Yeah, go forth and sin no more.
That's basically what Lord Chaitanya said to Jagat and Madhava.
Yeah, Jaga and Madhai. But they did some atonement too. They built a ghat.
Yeah.
But that was service, not just atonement. Jai Radha Gokananda.
Go Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Driya Vriti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Bhajami. Namam Vishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Kunalam Gokule Brajamanam Rupam Yasonabiyo Lukaladavamandam Param Rishtamat Yantato Druchagopya Tamo Netra Yugmam Vijantam Kadambos Yakju Mena Satsankanetram Shachakam Patre Rekagakanta Chichagraivam Damodaram Bhakti Badam Salila Bir Ananda Kunege Swakosham Nibhajantam Akyapayantam Jare Sita Geshu Bhakta Jitagatwam Punak Prematas Tam Shatavijivande Shabna Mokshavatim Nachanjam Vrine Pamba Reshadapiha Idam Deva Purna Gopalabalagam Sadhame Manas Yavirastam Kimanjoy Idam te mukam ojam achantanilai Vritam kundalai snigda rataisha gopya Musjumbitam bimba raktadadame manasya virastam adam lachalabai Namo Deva Dhammo Dar Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukkha Jalapti Magnam Kripa Tristi Vishkati Dinam Batandu Rahnishamam Madhyam Megi Yakshi Disha Kuveratmajau Bata Uchai Vyadvat Vayamuchitau Bhakti Vajau Kritocha Atta prema bhaktim swa kame prayacha namokshe grahome ste damodareha Namaste Studamne Sporadip Didamne Twadi Odarayata Vishwashadamne Namo Radhikaya Tvadhyat Priyaya Namo Nantali Laya Devaya Tubhyam Namam Vishwaram Sache Anandurupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yasoda Beyonuka Dandavamanaham Paramishtamat Yanta Todjagopya Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Hey Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Hey Radha, Lokinana Radha, Lokinana Radha. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa also Teta Sitashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nivasesha Shinivani Paschata Dejatarni. To the Supreme Controller, who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swinging to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, He cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, who was bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who were attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you were able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and am almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then free the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees. You gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe is created by Lord Brahma, was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. To your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and to your unlimited pastimes, Lord Damodar ki jai. Okay. Jaya Kaira Vichandrika Vitaranam Pratipadam Pradhanvatasvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Varam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Sarvatma